Good afternoon. Good afternoon, traders. Just do a quick audio visual check. Make sure everything is working as designed. Let me write a little hello in the chat here. We're going to get things started right now. My name is Daniel. I'm with VantagePoint AI. And today we're going to be talking about using artificial intelligence, technical analysis. I'm going to go through a step-by-step guide for using AI to do advanced technical analysis, but I'm going to deliver it in a way that should be easy for everybody to understand. So we're going to get things kicked off here once I make sure everything is up and running. Claudio, hello, hello. All is well here. I hope it is well with you. Thank you for being here. Deborah, hello, hello. I've got my eye on the chat, so if you wonder what I'm looking at over here, I'm just making sure that as people get into the room and get off and running, that everything is working as designed. If you ever have any issues with video or audio, then by all means, please don't hesitate to let me know. Looks like I might need to make some adjustments on my audio here from what I'm seeing. Let me just double check. Quick check. Let's change microphones really quickly and see if I can get a little bit better sound out of the microphone. So let me know if that is good. Somebody was telling me the audio is weak, so let's do a quick check now. Do some adjustments here. Hey, Cheyenne, thank you. Kathy, hello, hello. Today is September 24th, Tuesday. We should be off and running here momentarily. Well, thank you for joining. I changed my microphones, got a different setup, so you should be able to hear me a little bit better now. If you can, then let me know. Better. Okay. All right, good. You know, it's kind of funny with technology. I have to assume it's working as designed, but if not, I can adjust the gain and adjust some of the levels here, increase some of the levels and see if that works a little bit better. Well, trying to block out some of the background noise as well. So we've got a lot of people joining in the room now, so welcome. If you just joined, my name is Daniel. I'm with VantagePoint AI. And in today's session, we're going to do a step-by-step guide for using artificial intelligence-driven technical analysis to understand what's going in the markets. And I'm going to spend all of my time on charts. If you've got questions, I keep my eye on the chat box. Please hop into the chat box. I'm happy to answer your questions on the fly. And if you ever have any questions that you maybe don't want to put in the chat box, just reach out to us, VantagePointForecast.com. VantagePointForecast.com is a place you can reach out and get your questions asked or answered individually. That's always available as well. So I'm going to assume that sound is a little bit better. I made some adjustments, and we're going to hop into the charts right now. All right. Hopefully everybody's having a good trading week. You know, stock market is closed for the day, but what we're looking at here is the E-mini S&P 500. And there's a few things that I want to walk through on using technical analysis, and then we're going to add the artificial intelligence element to it so we're all on the same page. But before I get too far down the path, let me just make sure we are all on the same page, right? I'm here to provide education. This is not trading advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I've been utilizing the technology that I'm showing you here for decades. I've been involved in the financial markets for over 25 years, and I spend my days and my life dedicated to helping traders like you understand technical analysis so you can interpret your indicators in your charts and use artificial intelligence to increase your proficiency. So in today's education, that's what I am going to focus on. So right now, over my shoulder, you see a chart of the S&P 500. Why this is important is because I've been getting a lot of questions lately, and maybe some of you have sent the questions my way related to how do I know, right? How do I know? Is there a way for me to determine when a trend is expected to make a move? Or did VantagePoint, or did your indicators show? These are the questions that I get. And the question that I get most often is there a way to use indicators to understand what's expected to happen? If you have that question and you want to stop being a trend follower, then you're in the right place, because the answer to that is yes. Hey, Barbara, glad you're here. Lawrence, hello. Just checking into the chat, make sure I get to say hi to everybody that's in. If the answer to that question of is there a way to know what's expected to happen in the markets is yes, and that's something you're interested in, then hopefully I can provide you some of that information today. All right. Couple things to think about. When I'm looking at a chart and I'm looking at information, one of the things that I want to understand is what is price doing, right? I'm not talking about predictive information yet. I'm talking about how do I understand, for instance, the S&P 500. That's what we're looking at. What is price doing? And how can I use that information to my advantage? I'm going to get my pen here if I can. Let me see what's going on. For some reason, my pen just won't cooperate. Couple of technical issues today. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll do it without a pen today. That's all right. So what I'm looking at here is data for the S&P 500 going from June 3rd to September 24th. All right, so we've got several months of data here on the chart. And why that's important is because each candlestick that you're looking at is one trading day. If you're unfamiliar with candlesticks, I'm going to start out very, very basic. A green candlestick is an up day and a red candle is a down day. This is all end of day data. And the reason that you would use this information is to understand what has just happened in the S&P 500. This data, as we look at it right now, goes back just a little bit, a few months, so that you can understand what's expected to happen in the markets. And right now, what you're looking at from a data standpoint, there is no predictive information in this, okay? Deborah, if you don't have audio, check your speakers. Everybody's reporting audio is working just fine. All right, so if a green candle is an up day, that means the price closed higher than it opened. For instance, I'm going to go to 8.8 right here. On this day, at the bottom of that green candle body, that is where price opened. In the top left corner, you can see the open was 52.46. If you look in the top left corner, it says the close was 53.86. Well, that is the top of that green body. And again, I'm going step by step, folks, so that everybody can understand exactly how to apply this, all right? Now, on the top of that candle body, there's a little wick, you could call it, a shadow above it and below it. You can see the shadow stops here below it, and the shadow stops here above it. And the reason that's important is because that upper shadow is the high, the ending of the high, and that lower shadow is the low for the day. All right, so what we've got in a candlestick is the open, the close, the high, and the low, all identified in one candlestick. Now, on a red candlestick, it's the opposite. When the top of that candle is, when it's red, the top of that candle is the open, the bottom is the close. That means, like on 9.3, for instance, it closed a lot lower than it was when it opened. It did go a little bit higher than the open, but then it fell off of that. It went a little bit lower than the close. You can see that with that shadow down here, but then it closed a little bit higher than that. So, needless to say, this is just showing me what has happened. In case you're wondering, candlestick patterns date back hundreds of years. These aren't new indicators, but they are very valuable indicators to understanding, for instance, production. They were created as Japanese candlesticks to identify the production output of rice paddies. So when you sit back and you think about that, this is sound, usable information. It's just past price. There's nothing predictive about these candles, all right? So what we can see here is that when we get a string, for instance, from 8.8 all the way to 8.19, we get a string of green candles. That means every day the stock market opened and went higher and closed a little bit higher than it opened that day. And every day you see that, that is an uptrending market when you put a couple of them together, right? Again, nothing predictive about this. No artificial intelligence added to this. Now, what this is basically saying, what this is telling me right now is that there is for this period that I'm talking about, again, 8.8 up to 8.19, there's a strong uptrend in that market. Well, as a trader, if you can always buy low and sell high, that's a great thing for you. But where traders get stuck, at least the traders that I'm able to help the most, is knowing when it's time to buy low or sell higher, when that trend is expected to start moving higher or when it's expected to start moving lower, okay? That gets a lot of people in trouble for a couple of things. Fear, greed, right? Let's call it what it is. That's why traders get in trouble, is because we either want to make more than we're making or we're scared of it turning on us. And that causes us to make emotional decisions. It's one of the worst things from trading is making an emotional decision. So what I do is I'm teaching you today how I apply artificial intelligence to this kind of analysis to then give me the ability to remove as much emotion from that decision-making process as possible, increasing the odds that I'm right. Trading is an odds play, right? Trading is an odds play. I'll say it again. You want to stack the odds in your favor. You want to gain any edge that you can, okay? So right now, by looking at this, what we can see is all the way on the right-hand side of the chart, this is yesterday's candle, right? 923, you can see that when I put my cursor on that candlestick. You can see that it says 923 in the bottom corner, telling me that that is the day that is highlighted here. And if you look at the top left corner, I can see that candle's green, so it opened lower than it closed, or it closed higher than it opened. You can see it opened at 57.62 and it closed at 57.76. So you can see that it is, call it 15 points or 14 points higher from the open to the close. That's an up day. Now, we can see that very clearly. We see it happen, but that doesn't tell us about what's expected to happen today. Can anybody, for instance, without cheating and knowing what today did, if this was last night at 6:30 at night and you're looking at this going, all right, what is the ES going to do tomorrow? By looking at yesterday's candlestick and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that, would you be able to confidently tell me whether that's expected to go higher or lower? I'm not saying look at the market today. I'm saying just in general, by looking at that chart, could you know with any certainty whether the trend is expected to go up or down, or the next day is expected to be higher or lower? And the answer to the question is kind of a rhetorical question, because we all know that the answer is no. There's nothing on this chart telling me what's expected to happen tomorrow. It's only showing me what happened, or I should say what I expected to happen today. This information updates at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? So at 6:30 last night, there is nothing telling me that today's market was expected to be higher. Nothing whatsoever, right? And the fact that we have the highest point on this entire chart happening, 9:19, indicates that there is some pressure. There's some downward pressure on price. Some people may say, well, I would look at that candlestick and say, since price hasn't been able to get back up there, we could see it fall. Somebody else might say, well, I bet that it's going to go up. And that, my friends, is why there's bulls and bears, why some people think the market's expected to go up and some people think the market's expected to go down, because if you're using indicators that don't include the artificial intelligence like I'm talking about in VantagePoint, then you're guessing, in my opinion. And anybody that answers that question either knows what the market did today or guessed, right? Let's make sure we're on the same page there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the artificial intelligence step by step to this so that we can paint a clearer picture of what's expected to happen the next trade day in the ES 500. The E-mini S&P 500, we know was up today. Like that's, if you're in the markets, you know the market's closed and it was up today. But at 6:30 last night, before you got today's newspaper, before you got to see today's market action, you had no idea what the S&P was expected to do based on the information on the screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through step by step how I add the artificial intelligence. And the first thing I want to show you is what the artificial intelligence is doing. So what I do is I use the AI in VantagePoint to identify the S&P 500 and figure out what is influencing the price of the S&P 500, right? And what you're seeing on the screen right now is what we call intermarkets. The AI has gone out and analyzed over 10,000 markets around the world, billions of data points, and figured out what influences the price of the S&P 500. You'll see gold and the dollar and euro, right? Those are world currencies influencing it. You can see the VIX. We know that as volatility drops, the S&P rises. We see stocks like Flowserve and Cedar Fair, or ETFs like iShares, ACWI, or the Qs. You can see that there's over 30 markets on this list here that are driving, influencing, and impacting the price of the S&P 500. Well, what the artificial intelligence does is once all this analysis is done, it's then using that information to tell you with a high degree of accuracy what that asset is expected to do through a couple of patented proprietary indicators. And that's what I'm going to walk through today, so you know exactly how to use this day in and day out, and you can give yourself every advantage possible. All right, so let me get that off the screen. The first thing that I want to point out is because we are looking at price, I need a tool that's going to help me understand the price trend, not what has happened. I can see by looking at this, the price was trending up, and then the price was trending down, and then the price was trending up. It's all hindsight, right? But with the artificial intelligence, I can draw a line on the chart that actually has predictive information in the formula itself. And it's this blue line right here called a predicted moving average, okay? Now you should see a blue line on the chart. What this blue line is telling me is what that trend is expected to do by reading the candlesticks and doing that intermarket analysis. So this is step two in applying the AI. The first step is the intermarket analysis. The second step is enhancing indicators with predictive information so that I know what I can expect. All right? And don't worry, as we walk through this and I teach you how to do this yourself, we will look at some charts. I've got some other charts in here. You can put some in the chat box later. We'll do some analysis on some charts as we walk through this. But what this blue line is able to do is able to predict the direction the trend is expected to go over the next 3 days. And a lot of people ask me, Daniel, how does it do that? Well, it's doing that intermarket analysis, and then that intermarket analysis, the AI, is predicting price for the next 3 days, and then using that predictive price to draw this blue line. All I simply have to do is read that blue line to understand what the artificial intelligence is predicting for this trend. If that blue line has a positive slope, or that blue line is pointed up, let me see if I can draw right here on the screen. If this blue line is pointed up like we see it right here, that is the artificial intelligence in the software saying that this trend is expected to move higher over the next few trading days, right? Now, I want to highlight something. Just because the trend is expected to move higher, that doesn't mean that every day is going to be an up day in that trend. That's not what that means, right? What that means is that overall, the trend is expected to continue moving higher. Prices are expected to continue moving higher when you average out those prices. So at 6:30 last night, the artificial intelligence did that analysis we were just talking about. And then you can see that blue line was creating higher lows, saying we could expect price to continue moving higher over the next couple of days, okay? So now if I ask the question, what direction were we expecting the ES to go today based on that trend indicator? Now that you see that the blue line is pointed up, what would you say? Go to the chat box right now and tell me the direction you would have expected the ES to go today had you been using this information for the last several days, weeks, months, whatever the case is. If your answer is up, well, we obviously know you're right, but can you see how well that blue line highlights where it's expected to go? Because remember, we want to remove emotion from the conversation. We want to remove as much indecision from the conversation. Thank you, Everett and David. Barbara, you're exactly right. Up, up, up. If we remove that indecision, we let the artificial intelligence process all of those millions of data points so we don't have to. So step one is let the AI do the intermarket analysis. Step two is use that artificial intelligence then to create predictive indicators. And the first one is the trend prediction, okay? All right, so now we take it a step further. We say, all right, now that we know that the trend was expected to be up today based on yesterday's data, last night at 6:30, we would have seen that. And the way I like to use it, I like to do it in the morning before the market opens, right? I come to work, I can sit down right in front of a computer and I can do all the analysis that I need to do to make a decision. Now, if you're trading futures, if you're trading Forex, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time the night before, you get the updated data and you can use it right away. So depending on whether you're trading stocks or futures or Forex or stock options, you'll have this information before the next trade session if we're talking about trading days, all right? Now, the next step, we analyze price. By the way, let me make this a little bit easier for you to read. I am going to put on our predicted moving average with a simple moving average. So now you can see how the artificial intelligence identifies those reversals. And here's what I mean. When you see the blue line crossing when you see it crossing right here, let me see if I can get my pen to draw. There we go. When you see it cross and it goes from red to green, that's where the artificial intelligence is indicating, hey, this trend's officially expected to go up, right? It's the AI has waded through all that information. It's figured out what's expected to happen, and now it's providing information to you as a trader to make a decision. When you see that blue line cross below, like here, whoops, get my pen again, like here, that's where the artificial intelligence is saying that trend is expected to move lower, okay? That's one of the keys to using this, is looking for those crossovers. For those of you, is there anybody here that isn't using this artificial intelligence? I see some names that I recognize. Thank you for being part of the VantagePoint family, by the way. But is there anybody here that's not using artificial intelligence or this kind of information to make your trade decisions already? Just hop to the chat and let me know that that's the case, because one of the things that we try to do is make it very easy to use, like for instance shading the box between those lines. If it's a green shaded area, that's indicating a trend up. If it's a red shaded area, that's indicating a trend down, okay? And the idea behind that is to give you the ability to understand those reversals before they happen. You see, VantagePoint indicated that the latest trend in the stock market was expected to start going up on 9/12. Now, let me check my calendar here. 9/12 was, what is that, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, right? Hey, Snow Basin. I see that you're new. Thank you for that. Can you see how this crossover, this information, is valuable to make a decision around the trend as expected? Since you're new and you haven't seen this before, I'd love to get your feedback on that in the chat. But what we're doing here is about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half at least, VantagePoint said, hey, the ES is expected to move higher. Does anybody know what happened between September 12th and today? Does anybody remember what's happened maybe last week? Hint, hint. Maybe interest rates? Hint, hint. Right? If you follow the markets, if you follow, hey Terry, thank you. If you follow the markets, then you know that interest rates were cut by 50 basis points. The dollar got devalued more and more and more. It's causing the markets to go up, which we can talk about here in a little bit. But, you know, the market's going up like that by interest rates dropping. Yeah, there you go. Barbaro Fed cut rates. Did VantagePoint know the Fed was going to cut rates? Hey, Steve, what's going on, buddy? Nice to see you in there. No, VantagePoint didn't. But almost 2 weeks ago, VantagePoint said, hey, the artificial intelligence is identifying some hidden patterns and relationships in the markets and is expecting the stock market to start trending higher, right? Now, if I put a line on this high here, and I can put a line on this high here, there's one, here's another one. These are some major resistance points, some high points. That tells me that right there, VantagePoint was saying, hey, we can expect prices to trend at least up to there because there was resistance points or points where price could pause. I'll do a whole session on support and resistance in the future if that's something that you think would be helpful for you. But the key point here is on 9/12, VantagePoint indicated very clearly, hey, the AI sees something and this trend is expected to move higher. And we set an all-time high in the E-mini S&P 500 after that forecast, right? Before the rate cut, you can see, right at the rate cut, you can see a nice big high move, and then they did the rate cut, and it jumped up that day on 9/18, set a new all-time high, and the next day set another new all-time high, and VantagePoint was able to identify that early on. All right. Hey, David. Yes, nice to see you. Tim, good, good. Glad to see that. You can see that VantagePoint, no, it did not indicate the rate cut. You're right about that, but it indicated an uptrend. And that's the key. All right, but that's just one step. I want to take you to the next step because now we know how to forecast the trend. Wouldn't it be great if now you also knew whether there was expected to be bullish or bearish strength in that trend? Because there's one thing to understand what's going on with price. It's one thing to understand what's going on with price, but if you can add a layer of analysis to that, that helps you understand strength in price, that's like a confirmation. So I'm going to do that right now by turning on my neural index. See, VantagePoint also uses that intermarket analysis to identify when prices are expected to be stronger. And right here at the bottom of the screen, let me see if I can grab my pen here. Right here at the bottom of the screen, you can see a bar. That bar is either red or green, okay? It's either red or green. And what that is doing is it's telling me when it's green that there is short-term strength in price. The average price is expected to be higher strength-wise. That's valuable, okay? So when I do that, when I see the crossover on 912, the first thing that I want to do in my next step in using artificial intelligence is verify that there's expected to be strength in price. So I look down at the neural index and I see it's green, all right? For those of you that are not technical analysts, you are now doing technical analysis with artificial intelligence right now on the screen, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. I think it was Einstein that said, taking something that's complicated and making it simple is true genius. I would believe that that's what Louis Mendelsohn, our founder, was able to do, and our company's been doing for traders now for 3 decades, is that the complexity of technical analysis, the complexity of artificial intelligence combined in a way to simply understand what's expected to happen. So, step 1 was the intermarket analysis. Step 2 is that the price trend is expected to be higher. Step 3 is there is short-term strength in that trend. Getting some great confirmations. Well, if I look at the market last night, here we go again, 923, I download my data, I look at this analysis and I see the blue line is up, the shaded area is green, the neural index is green, I have trend prediction higher, I have strength prediction higher. Both of those things are telling me, hey, you know what? There is strength in trend. Hey, Steve, thanks for stopping by, buddy. All right, so there's a couple of steps. We're going to take it a step further. Does anybody here use momentum to make your trading decisions? Sorry, I had to get a drink. You can imagine doing a lot of talking, but if you're in this session right now and you're already familiar with doing some technical analysis and you use momentum to help you make some of your trade decisions, let me know in the chat box. I'm always interested in what people are using to make their trade decisions because personally, I think momentum is a key piece of understanding market movements. Momentum can help you have confidence in a trend. Momentum can give you the ability to remove more emotion by layering that into your analysis. Peter, Terry, oh yeah, you sure do, Terry. Bro, okay, good. So we've got some momentum users in here. VantagePoint can forecast momentum over the next 1, 2, and 3 days using what we call the predictive differences, all right? I'm just gonna go turn those on right now. Here is the 3-day momentum indicator. If I open up this little window right here, you'll see that. Let me just, there we go. You can see I got my 3-day momentum indicator right here. Here's my medium term, and here's my short term. Now I've got my 1, 2, and 3-day momentum indicators on my chart. How I like to use these is I want to understand the slope of the line since the beginning of that trend, or at least the last 5 days, however you want to slice it, right? If we go back 5 days, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Do I have higher lows? And here's what I mean. On my momentum indicators, these are oscillators. So if I connect the lows on these indicators from that day forward, are they pointed up? Ooh, sideways right there. We have 2 pointed up and 1 pointed sideways. The 2 that are pointed up are the long term and the short term. The 1-day and the 3-day predicted momentum. Now what we've done is we've layered on these predictive indicators generated from the AI to give us confidence around what's expected to happen. And if we look on the right-hand side of the chart, we can see the blue line is above, the neural index is green, and the momentum indicators, most of them, 2 of the 3, are pointed up. So now for you momentum traders, not only do you have a trend prediction, you've got a strength prediction, and you've got momentum predictions trying to understand, trying to help you take the emotion out of your trading so you can make a decision around what the S&P 500 is expected to do over the next couple of days. This was updated at 6:30 last night for today's trading so that you could apply this, and it's updated every night at 6:30, and it gives me the information I need to make very valuable decisions around the market. But we don't stop there, and I don't want you to stop there. I want you also to use the power of the AI to predict the next day's trade range. So if I roll this forward, you can see that VantagePoint forecasted the next day's trading range by indicating right over here with this little gray candle. If you look on the right-hand side of my screen, it predicted a high and a predicted low for today's trade for the ES, saying, hey, it's going to trade within this range. The predicted low on the left-hand side of my screen, you can see that it would give me that information right over here for 924, so I can understand what's expected to happen. It traded right within that range, but the key thing I want to highlight for you is that that gray candle has a green top and a green bottom on it, both indicating that, hey, you can expect slightly higher highs and you can expect slightly higher lows on the ES, indicating that there is some bullishness expected in that trend. Well, go take a look at the ES. Go check your platform. Go see if we got higher highs and higher lows today or not. Tell me if that indicator was right. Because if it was right, well, then it's safe to say that by having a trend prediction that's bullish, a strength prediction that's bullish, increasing momentum, bullish momentum, as well as a predicted high and a predicted low that are both expected to be higher than the previous day, then what we can do is sit down and say, all right, you know what? We've got bullishness expected in the S&P 500 today. And if you're looking in your platform, you'll see you got bullishness in the S&P 500 today. And that's a step-by-step use of this technology to help you maximize what you're doing in the markets. Hey, MD Mahmood, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. You're asking about what does prediction say for tomorrow? What does your AI say about NVIDIA and Tesla? Tell us some penny stocks, please. Looks like you're looking for a lot of free predictions. I appreciate that. Thank you. You can certainly use this information, and we will certainly look at all of that. But remember, it updates at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time for tomorrow. It's 4:30 p.m. So unless you want me to talk for the next 2 hours, I won't be able to give you tomorrow's predictions just yet, all right? Freddie says the AI algorithm also analyzes options activity, opens, calls, put net premiums. Freddie, thank you for asking that question because options traders love VantagePoint. There are tools, some add-on tools that can help you understand calls, can help you understand puts. Imagine, Freddie, going to pick a strike price on a new crossover and having that predicted high and predicted low. So you can reduce your premium slightly by not having to buy as deep in the money, right? You can pick a good delta. As long as it's touching that gray candle, then you know that the likelihood that that price gets hit that next day is very, very high. So for options traders, they love using this because it can help reduce premiums, increase accuracy, reduce time decay because it's identifying trend reversals before they actually reverse. By the way, if you have some questions, some detailed questions you want to get into, you can give us a call. We put the phone number in the chat. And you can also go to VantagePointForecast.com and we can answer your questions one-on-one. For anybody that's interested in that, go ahead and do that. But nevertheless, I told you we were going to look at some stocks, so we're going to look at some stocks. When we look at the stocks, we can see here's Tesla. MD, here's Tesla right here. I see, yes, I'm looking for some free information because I got no money in hand. I'll be waiting for the information until 6:30. That's funny. All right, so when we're looking at this, and by the way, MD, trading is full of risk, right? So if you don't have the money to trade, you got to manage your risk. You got to protect your downside. Got to make sure that the money you're trading with is risk capital. If you lose it, it's not going to take food off the table. It's an important piece of trading. But nonetheless, here is Tesla. Let's just walk through exactly what we just talked about. Here, I'm going to zoom in for us. Here's the latest trend on Tesla. VantagePoint indicated, by the way, that Tesla was expected to move higher on 9/4. Everybody should see that on the screen, right? 9/4, beginning of the month, 20 days ago. You can see that VantagePoint crossed above. The neural index was green. The predictive differences were, moving higher, indicating bullish momentum. Now, that blue line stayed above that gray line and kept on going higher and higher and higher and higher as prices kept going higher, going into today's trade day. So at 6:30 last night, VantagePoint said, hey, Tesla is expected for price. Let's walk through those steps one by one. I can even take them off the chart here for some of you that are new and have never seen this before, right? I'm going to take off the neural index. I'm going to take off the momentum indicators, right? And we'll just leave the crossover on this. So the first step here says, hey, look, VantagePoint was indicating that there was a trend in this asset that price is expected to go higher. Tesla was expected to go higher. The blue line is above, that blue line is pointed up. Everything is expected to move higher from a trend standpoint for Tesla. That's pretty easy to see. Let's go to step 2, the neural index. The neural index is green, indicating that there's short-term strength in that price, indicating Tesla is expected to move higher. right? Take it a step further. Let's go put on our one-day momentum indicator down here at the bottom. That is creating higher lows, and price is expected to move higher from a momentum standpoint. Momentum is moving bullishly into Tesla based on the artificial intelligence analysis. Okay, let's go put on the 2-day momentum indicator. Price is moving higher. That's that pink line down here at the bottom saying trend is expected to move higher. It's creating higher lows over the next 4 or 5 days. Okay, let's put on our 3-day momentum predictor, and we can see that from the beginning of this trend, it's just gotten higher and higher, indicating increasing momentum. It's that navy blue line down here at the bottom, increasing momentum all the way through that. So what VantagePoint is saying, based on this forecast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time last night, VantagePoint was saying we could expect Tesla to move higher today. Well, in case you're wondering, I think Tesla was up almost 2 percentage points, something like that. So we're going to bring on the predicted high and predicted low, and you can see it also was expecting higher highs and higher lows. So there is 100% of the predictive indicators that I have on the screen right now in Tesla saying we were expecting Tesla to move higher today. Stop and think about that. Stop and think about that for a second. Will that help you remove emotion? If you just walk through step by step what we just walked through, I don't care if it's on the dollar, I don't care if it's on Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what it's on. If you got information like that day in and day out, would you be able to remove emotion? Would you be able to increase your odds, increase your proficiency, and be a better trader? Because my belief is yes, but curious as to what yours is. David, I have a question. What features do I get out of the box without layering on features? Everything I'm showing you, David. Everything that I'm going over. Everybody that joins the VantagePoint family, becomes a user, gets everything I'm going over. Hopefully that answers your question. Yep, Charles, I love it. I love it. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Here's Tesla. Here's NVIDIA. Did VantagePoint say NVIDIA was expected to move higher? Yep, the trend was expected to move higher. The shaded area is green. We got a little bit of weakness in the trend, but momentum on the short term and the long term was expected to move higher. We were predicting a higher high, but potentially a lower low. So all in all, VantagePoint is saying here, NVIDIA was more to the bullish side. But check this out. A lot of traders got caught in NVIDIA. VantagePoint indicated very clearly, let me drop a line on this day right here, very clearly right here on this day that the trend was expected to move lower. Probably wouldn't have got caught in NVIDIA had you had that information, and could have exited it somewhere even if you waited for this gap 121. It fell all the way down to $90 per share from 121. If you didn't have this information, you probably wrote it down. If you didn't pay attention to this information, unfortunately, you wrote it down. If you didn't trust this information, you lost on that move until it gained value again here, and then VantagePoint indicated, you know what, profit-taking opportunity. This is designed for the swing trader, right? And you can see how it works regardless of the market. Somebody was asking about penny stocks, MD. That was you. Here's Lumen Technologies, right? It was less than a dollar when it was forecasted to move higher. Look, I'm going to do it again. This was a step-by-step class, and I want to go through step by step so everybody understands it. Let's put on the crossover, that blue line, right? Here's a predicted blue line. There you go. You can see that expected to move higher. Bang, nice move. We can go through and put on our neural index, green, right? It's wash, rinse, repeat, folks. I don't have to overthink it or over-engineer it. I just have to do it the same way over and over again to increase my odds. VantagePoint forecasted this up back here on July 9th. You can see that the blue line was at 107. The medium-term crossover, the simple moving average was at 105. If you just took advantage of that information and went from crossover to crossover, okay? That's 415% gain in a penny stock in 37 trading days, right? And then right here, you get a profit-taking opportunity. If you just like to buy low and sell high, there's another crossover to the upside. As of the closing bell yesterday, there's another 27% on Lumen Technologies. And if I'm not mistaken, Lumen was up again today. So no matter how you slice it, look, these are hypothetical gains, but take a look at this. at $1 a share, a $10,000 position on Lumen generates over $50,000 in gains using this artificial intelligence from the time the AI indicated a bullish trend until the closing bell yesterday. I don't know about you, but turning 10,000, or in this case, on the first trend, turning 10,000 into 42, and then the second trend, turning it into 15, that's pretty good if you ask me. That's pretty good if you ask me, okay? All right. I think everybody understands how to walk through step by step using the artificial intelligence. If you don't, hop into the questions box and let me know. Let's see. Does a short-term downtrend show up like in Microsoft? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Downtrends, uptrends, doesn't matter the direction because remember, it's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence doesn't care about the direction. It's using the intermarket analysis. So depending on how short-term you're talking, here's Microsoft right out of the box. All right. I believe that was Snow Basin. I'm not sure the dates you're interested in, but you can see that there's a substantial uptrend here into a downtrend, a short-term uptrend, short-term. There's four very valuable forecasts using the exact process we walked through. Look, let me show you. And by the way, folks, look, I can show you the intermarkets for Microsoft, and you can see they're very different. Mattel, Global Partners, of course, the dollar, right? That affects everything. AutoZone, the Japanese yen, light sweet crude oil. Those are what's driving Microsoft. See, the AI is doing that for every asset. So when you ask a question about a certain stock, the intermarket analysis is step one. The trend prediction is step two. The strength, step three. The momentum, step four. And when you put it all together and they all agree and you've got total confirmation, you can have the confidence you're looking for to really maximize your trading opportunities. I hope that's helpful for you. Hey, bro, I love it. I love it. Bro says I'm in INSG for 600%. Way to go. Wait, did you get that out of VantagePoint? Just a question. I'm wondering. Long-term difference for Lumen today says 0.65. Okay. Perfect. Long-term difference says 0.65. What does that mean to you, Tim? What does that mean for you? The long-term difference being 0.65 is just the scale reading. It's above zero, and 0.65 is lower than the highest point of that biggest trend at 1.77. The number doesn't mean as much to me. Tim, your question has helped me understand the number. Is the number higher than it's been over the last 5 days? Am I getting higher lows? I would forget the number existed, Tim. Simplify your technical analysis. Let the artificial intelligence do the job for you. And here's what I mean. Is that line pointed up? Do you have a positive slope to that line? Do you have higher lows? And here's what I mean. If you look back over the last 5 days, can you connect two low points? And if the answer to that is yes, my question is, do those low points, does that line point up or down? If it points up, then that is bullish momentum expected based on that 3-day outlook. Thank you for that question, because you've obviously got VantagePoint, and that's a question that you may have been struggling with. But all I'm looking for is the direction that those lines are pointing to identify what the artificial intelligence is saying about the momentum. Hopefully that was helpful. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for that feedback as well. Live and on the spot. I love it. You're on the keyboard ready to go. All right, throw a ticker in there. Throw a ticker into the chat. Tell me something you want to take a look at. We already threw Microsoft up. You can see that I'm completely transparent. I'm showing you what's available in the software. We'll do 2 or 3 tickers before I end for the day because what we came to do, we accomplished. A step-by-step process when applying artificial intelligence doesn't have to be complicated, but when you do it like this, it can be extremely, extremely valuable. The sharper the incline, the more probable. As long as we're looking at a 5-day period, yes, the sharper the incline, the stronger the momentum is expected to be, as long as that momentum is not setting a new high. If that momentum has a very sharp line and it's setting a new high, that's like a rubber band getting overstretched. And when a rubber band gets overstretched, and this is any indicator, folks, I don't care what indicator it is. If an oscillator if a line is setting a new high, even if it's pointed up really sharp, then you have to be cautious of regression to the mean. You have to be cautious of pullback. So yes, the sharper the incline, the stronger the prediction. until it gets to that overextended period, and then you've got to be cautious. Okay, hopefully that helps. ARM, DRD. Let's take a look at ARM, Barbara. All right. I don't know if you're talking about ARM, Mark. Let's. I don't see another one. There you go. Fresh crossover to the downside on ARM, and one of the things on this is saying, hey, you know what? You could see an up day on this. But if somebody was holding this trend, what the VantagePoint software was saying at 6:30 last night when it closed, it said, hey, if you're holding this trend already and you're still in this position, then it may be a profit-taking opportunity today, because the forecast, all the indications are saying, hey, this thing, it looks like it's coming to an end. Check this out. Look, momentum left our mark right here. Look, those lines went turned flat and went down. Momentum left 4 or 5 days ago, indicating, yeah, there's some bearish momentum moving in. So if this is the one we're looking for, then we know that based on what we're seeing in the artificial intelligence, that uptrend has come to an end from a profit-taking opportunity. DRD Gold, great forecast in VantagePoint. You can see that right here. The blue line crossed above on 9/13. The neural index was green and momentum was pushing higher. From that forecast until yesterday's close, I think today closed above yesterday's close, is somewhere up here. It's about a 20% gain. VantagePoint is indicating there is still some bullishness left in this. Take a look. The blue line is above, the neural index is green. The 3-day momentum indicator is got some nice bullishness to it, but it's at a new high. Look, a new 3-month high at least. We can look at 6 months if we wanted to, but we can see that navy blue line has set a new high. That medium one set a new high and pulled back. Oh, that short-term one set a new high recently, pulled back. So we've got some momentum opportunities here with resistance also set in, folks. If you don't do support and resistance analysis, let me show you something. This resistance point from back here on 8-1 has come to fruition again, and it's holding prices down, even today. Well, with momentum peeling off, that resistance becomes a whole lot stronger, right? Becomes a whole lot stronger. Well, that means we've got to be cautious of this reversing. We've got to protect our downside, set some tight stops, be ready for a flattening or consolidation before things can move higher. Doesn't mean exit, because we don't have a crossover, but we can see the artificial intelligence is clearly saying, just be on the lookout. Just be on the lookout. All right, good. Thank you. SiriusXM, who's this for? Timothy, let's take a look. There we go. What are we seeing in Sirius? We can see that there's a nice downtrend going on, right? People started to see this consolidation happening in this downtrend. Heck, we might have set a 52-week low here. We'd have to check that. But still, don't get head faked by stuff like this. We do not have a crossover, Tim. And the first step is intermarket analysis. The second step is understanding the trend prediction. The trend prediction is saying there is some consolidation in this downtrend. This is by no means a prediction of a bullish trend, because we don't have a cross. It didn't go from red to green, all right? Let me zoom in on it to show you a little bit better. See that? It's still red in between that shaded area. The predicted high and predicted low, red, saying we're expecting lower highs and lower lows. Momentum is trying to bring some bullish momentum to the party, but it's not let in yet. Momentum is not allowed in the party yet because we don't have predicted trend bullishness. When those all agree, step by step, you can make a very, very powerful decision. So Tim, give us a call. I'd love to talk to you more about this one-on-one if you want to dig into the details, because VantagePoint was saying today wasn't the day for Sirius. Wasn't the day for a new trend reversal in Sirius, even though momentum was starting to build. One more. Let's go take a look for Robeat at S-Bucks, or like my daughters like to call it, Starbies. If we look at Starbies, we can see very easily that there is a major channel going on Starbies. Look, we got a resistance level up here. We got a support level down here, and prices have just been banging around in Starbies. VantagePoint, all the way on the right-hand side of the chart. Take a look, folks. Red line, red shaded area. The blue line is saying trend is expected to move lower. The neural index is red. Momentum is rolling over and going from bullish now to bearish, indicating Starbies is expected to be lower today. VantagePoint had a low projected at 94.50. Starbies went to 94.19. today. I mean, could you imagine being wrong that right? Could you imagine being so right that it goes down and you get within 25 cents on a $94 stock, and you had that information last night? You know what? I've been utilizing this technology for going on 15 years. I've been involved in the financial markets over 25 years, and still I see stuff like this, knowing what's going on in the markets, and it blows me away at how powerful it is. So we've hit several indicators. We've hit several tickers. Let me take a look. What group is DRD in? When you say group, are you talking about sector? Is that what you're talking about? Basic materials. Bro, if that's what you're asking. Basic materials. Oh, UNG and HP. I didn't see those. All right, UNG because it's an ETF on natural gas. Let's take a look at that. And we can see that we've got a fresh crossover to the upside. Look at these trends on UNG. Just lights out. If I back this up, look. Downtrend, uptrend. You want to talk about a swing trader's paradise, right? VantagePoint indicated very quickly that we could see that there was some bullishness in UNG starting back here. It also said that we could see prices around, what, 1597, somewhere in that range right here. Very clearly, you can see that in the corner. Doesn't mean that the trend is expected to stop or reverse. Matter of fact, everything is saying we could still expect some bullishness in this. There's always going to be down days and uptrends. And VantagePoint indicated that with a potential low, lower than yesterday's close. And no matter what, again, we've got the confidence just by walking through that step-by-step process. I think by now everybody's probably understood and can see how powerful that is and how useful that is. I'll pop AVGO up there really quickly just before we head out. Broadcom, for those of you that aren't familiar with the ticker. And Broadcom had a nice bullish trend forecast. It was indicating bullishness today. There is a little bit of a momentum, conversation going on. Take a look over here. Look, momentum is kind of flattening out. The one-day momentum is saying, it's not going to rally, but it's still expected to be bullish. And there's some bullishness expected going into the market for today. We got bullishness today, so spot on again. Folks, I love doing these. I'd love to stay all day and continue doing these things, but I got to tell you, VantagePoint, as you can tell, has been lights out. It's been very, very valuable. A lot of traders have been using VantagePoint to find some major opportunities. If you're not yet, that's okay. I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to make sure everybody here understands the value behind technical analysis and then how you can increase the value in technical analysis by applying artificial intelligence, and I think I've been able to do that today. So I'm going to tap out. Thank you for being here today. If you're part of the VantagePoint family already, thank you for being part of the VantagePoint family. And as I like to say, everybody else, thanks for letting me give you the view from my vantage point. Happy trading, everybody. Have a good week.